during the time of July 25th to August 8th. Stay tuned for more updates as we'll be seeing you at 2 p.m. with our show Outline.
Tune in for some happiness. Tune in for some fun. Tune in late at night or tune in the sun. This is TFM. Get ready to rock. From AM to PM. Come on. Let's talk.
TFM 95.4.
Let's talk.
Live on TFM and the TFM Facebook page. This is the live feed of TTV. Let's talk.
Hello everyone, welcome to TTV and to our show Outline. Here's the latest update from our newsroom. The Ministry of Health today announced the registration of 11 new coronavirus deaths in Oman. The death toll has now touched 337 in Oman due to the virus so far, the officials at the Ministry of Health informed. They also extended their deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. Officials at the Ministry of Health also announced the registration of 1,487 new coronavirus cases in the country today. 1,159 of the new cases are Omani nationals and 328 for non-Omanis, bringing the total number of coronavirus cases registered in the Sultanate to 69,887. According to the Ministry of Health, this number also includes the recovery of 46,608 patients and 337 deaths. The ministry has urged everyone to adhere to social distancing instructions issued by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health, as well as staying at home and not going out unnecessary. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have more updates your way. Back to TTV, you're watching Outline. The surge in Covid-19 cases among Omanis has been due to lack of precautionary measures taken by them to prevent the spread of infection. Dr. Mohammed bin Saif Al Husni, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Health for Health Affairs, said to Shabiba FM that the Covid-19 infection is not an inevitable thing. We can avoid the disease by taking precautionary measures. The infection has increased among Omanis as they fail to take precautionary steps. Approximately 4,000 Covid-19 tests are being carried out every day, and it takes several days to get the results, Al-Husni said. He also added that the Covid-19 virus is not as infectious as measles or other viruses, so we can avoid getting infected by taking precautions and following the health and safety instruction. Masks should be worn if anyone visits your home. Be patient and avoid visiting, gathering, or mingling during Eid holidays, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Health said. He also added that we have witnessed a big jump in numbers after Eid al-Fitr due to gathering. I request everyone to learn a lesson from the past and to be patient, avoid gatherings during holidays. If the visit is necessary, the individual must stick to the social distancing and wear masks. The Supreme Committee will study procedures and analyze data and may also issue new decisions for the Eid period. Moreover, more than 600 medical workers in Oman have tested positive for coronavirus, Dr. Mohammed bin Saif Al Husni, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Health for Health Affairs, said while continuing talking to Shabiba FM. He said that the number could increase if the rate of infection in Oman continues to grow and will have an impact on the medical services provided in the Sultanate.
Do you hear my voice?
The total number of infections among medical staff has exceeded 600, and most of them have been infected because of community transmission. These numbers are expected to grow as the infection increases in society, and this will mostly impact medical services in the country. Muhammad Al-Husni asked anyone suffering from the symptoms of coronavirus to get themselves tested at the earliest. He said that Oman is expected to need 184 beds when the virus reaches its peak in the country, with 170 beds in ICUs currently occupied by coronavirus patients in the Sultanate, which is quite a higher number. Darul Atta Association recently handed over houses number 87 and 88 worth 90,000 Omani riyals to two needy families under its program Maskani and Mamani, which means My Home is My Haven. The program covers construction and maintenance of houses, as well as monthly support like payment of water and electricity charges, among other things. The first house was purchased for a family of 8 and was furnished with the necessary home appliances and furniture. The second house was built for a family comprising 5 orphans and was also supplied with home appliances and furniture. Since its establishment, Darul Atta Association has sought to provide a better life for individuals in need and has so far established 88 houses and has provided maintenance for over 500 houses. Maryam bint Isa Zajjali, the chairperson of Darul Atta Association, said that Darul Atta has, since it was established, supported the needy families and responded to their needs and requirements. The family welfare program of Darul Atta is one of the significant programs, and we work to ensure safe residences for the needy families for those who do not own houses, and we provide maintenance to families with houses which require service. She also continued saying that the cases which receive our support are subject to consideration in accordance with the system applicable to Darul Atta. The association also conducts field studies and makes field visits to evaluate the cases. Travel agents in Oman are currently taking registrations of expats who hold resident visas and wish to return to the country during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Based on demand for flights to Oman, lists of passengers will be submitted to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for authorization, following which those who wish to fly back can book their tickets, either independently or through travel agents. According to one of the travel agents named Fayaz Khan, head of travel for Travel Point, said that a lot of expats in Oman used to live and work here, and they went overseas for either annual leave, study, or for medical reasons, but after COVID-19 pandemic, they could not come back and were stuck there. They have been in touch with us earlier. We could not fly them back before, but because only the repatriation of Omanis was allowed. But now it is possible to bring back expats as well if we receive permission from the authorities. Depending on the demand for seats on planes, we will either put these people on a repatriation flight that is coming to Oman, because many of them come here empty, or hire a chartered flight for people. Working professionals aside, we have had a lot of requests from parents of students to bring their children back because their hostels are unable to accommodate them right now and they have no place to stay. Another travel agent from Marmul Travel has also begun taking down the names of people who wish to return. Passengers need to register by filling in a form which is available on the company's social media platforms. Passengers whose resident visas are expired can also apply to come back to Oman, but they have to first renew their documents online and then sign up to fly back, according to Suhail Khan, the founder of the Deccani wing of the Indian Social Club Muscat, which, like many other charitable organizations, has been helping foreign nationals in the country return home during these uncertain times. Al-Dastur Daily of Jordan has said that since the accession of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq to power in Oman, the Sultanate has been unprecedented developments and continuous efforts to upgrade the march of national action in different sectors, putting Oman in the sphere of advanced nations. In its report, Al-Dastur pointed out that in his first address to the nation, His Majesty Sultan Haytham pledged to respect the basic law of the state, to fully sponsor citizens' interests and liberties, and to safeguard the independence of the country and the safety of its territories. Al-Dastur added that late His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said bin Taimur perceived in Sultan Haytham all the traits and abilities that qualify him to shoulder the responsibility of the Sultanate's leadership. The Jordanian Daily commended the new, confident reign of His Majesty Sultan Haytham. It said that the historic speech he delivered at the inauguration ceremony charted out the parameters of future action for a bright future. In the speech, the paper said that His Majesty the Sultan drew out the salient features of the present and future stages and sent a number of direct and indirect messages, particularly with regard to domestic and foreign policies and the approach to be assured by the Sultanate in future. The paper added that after more than 6 months or 191 days since His Majesty Sultan Haitham had accession to power, the Sultanate had experienced continuous progress through non-stop efforts that began in the small hours of the accession to the throne, showing a worthy model of leadership that accorded attention to citizens in every part of the country. The Department of the Blood Bank Services has made an urgent appeal for people to come forward and donate blood. The DBBS said in a statement that, due to the shortage of blood donors, we appeal to everyone to take the initiative to donate blood at the Central Bank at Boshire. The blood donation times from Saturday to Thursday are from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Friday from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please book your appointment to donate blood via WhatsApp at 94555648. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have very interesting guests joining us after this break who is going to talk about restoring consumer confidence during COVID-19. So stay tuned. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Outline. As I mentioned earlier, right before going on the break, that we have very interesting guests who will be joining us and talking about restoring consumer confidence during COVID-19. So I would really like to welcome Mr. A.V.Manohar, Chief Executive Officer of Wisdom Business and Training Services, and Mr. Krishan Kumar Chutani, CEO of Dabur International, joining all the way from Dubai. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us in today's session.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Krishan, I would like to start with you. You know, since you're based in Dubai, and if you could just tell us what has been the impact of COVID-19 on consumers and why.
COVID, as everybody has been reading across newspapers and listening on television, COVID is a very, very unprecedented, once in a kind of a lifetime thing which has happened to every one of us, not just consumers. People are scared, they are bothered about the safety which is personal, safety for their families, safety of their incomes, safety of their future, and consumers are not different. So in terms of consumption, if I were to talk about, consumption of certain kind of items has gone absolutely missing, like travel, leisure, like meetings, like eating out. So many such kind of behaviors have actually almost gone to a zero for many companies. I represent consumer products. Very difficult quarters last quarter, but somehow the things are turning better. May has been better than April, June has been better than May. So consumer confidence kind of is returning back to certain categories which we represent.
Right, and if I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
Mr. Krishan, things are actually getting back to normal. Things have started opening in UAE. The airports are open. The people are actually going back out, and you know the shopping and the malls are still back to how it used to be before.
Yes, people have started going out. UAE has been, the government efforts have been very good to contain this COVID in UAE. Things have started opening up, but saying that things are going back to normal, not yet. They are far from normal. Still, people are very, very, I should say, cagey. The grocery shopping, the pharmacy shopping has opened up. People have started going to the malls, but still we don't see the kind of rush which used to be there prior to COVID impact.
Mr. Manohar, I would like to direct this question to you, sir, now. What do you think has been the impact of COVID-19 on consumer goods and why?
Sorry, I missed
Actually,
you.
this COVID-19,
Mr. Manohar,
yeah,
sorry, sir, we couldn't hear you. If you could just start from the beginning, please.
am I audible to you now?
Yes, sir, it's perfect now.
Yeah. As mentioned by Krishan, COVID has affected everyone in the world. Of course, here I just would like to mention about the consumer goods. Actually, three types of consumer purchases are there. Consumer goods purchases. One is the daily essentials and the necessities. See, that segment is continuing to do well. There may be little decline may be there, but everybody is keen to have these daily essentials and necessities. The next segment is not essential items, but that can be postponed. Yes, this is really a good strategy. Some items need to be postponed, so those things are not happening. In fact, those sections have been kept closed also. And third segment is the luxury items. People, they do not have even a look at those luxury items now. But now the thing is the mental state of mind of everyone, because the COVID-19 has created a lot of fear psychosis in the minds of people. Everybody is afraid to go to the supermarket. Earlier, the situation used to be like this. That is before COVID. Whenever we used to go to the supermarket or hypermarket, we used to have this question: what all to buy? But now the question has to be reframed. Why at all to buy? How at all to buy? So this type of mental psychosis has come in everybody's mind. Of course, everybody wants to stay safe and wants to keep their health, preserve their health. So in that way, the social distancing and other disciplines as given by the government regulations are proving to be working very well. And of course, the time only has to tell how the situation is going to change going forward. That's all.
You both pointed out the same thing, that although things have started opening up and although the economic activities have started to easing in both countries, but people are still reluctant. The fear is still there in everyone's heart, and I think it's also because, like Mr. Krishan said, it's still there. The pandemic is still there. It's not over yet. The cases are still in both the countries very much. So do you think, Mr. Krishan, having that fear would actually have an effect on the consumer goods or the purchasing power? Mr. Krishan, can you hear
Hello?
me? Okay, Mr. Manohar, can you answer to that question till we get back in touch with Mr. Krishan?
Yeah, the consumer services market, as mentioned by me earlier, the food requirements at the home, that segment is doing very well, no doubt about it. But what about the food services market? Okay, this is an indirect consumption of food, which means that the supplies being made to the hotels, restaurants, and catering houses. It is called Horeca in the marketing terms. That segment has completely faced a difficult situation because all the activities are closed. Hotels are closed, restaurants, catering services are closed, and then travel and tourism greatly affected. And another important thing is no events are happening. That is another main thing. With the result, the hotels are unable to do any business these days. That means the food supply in these areas have been affected. But of course, the home supplies, that market is doing well. But even then, the total market, if you see, because of the great decline in the requirement of the hotels and all, the overall situation has not shown any improvement. There is only a decline, because the hotels market is a very big market according to me.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Manohar. We have got Mr. Krishan back online with us. Mr. Krishan, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
I lost you somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's
I
okay,
couldn't
sir.
hear you, Mr. Manohar.
I just
You
asked this question before we had a connection glitch with you that, you just pointed out that, although the malls have opened, the markets are open, the pharmacies are open, people are still reluctant and a bit hesitant to go out like they were used to before. So I was just asking that, do you think this kind
Yes.
of fear, this kind of reluctancy would actually have an impact on the purchasing power and the consumer goods in the market? Mr. Krishan, are you there?
I am there.
I think Mr. Krishan's connection is not working well with us. Mr. Manohar, you've already answered to this question, sir. So I'm going to ask you, like, in your opinion, what do you think people are spending more on? What goods, what services are they spending more? And why are they spending on those particular goods and services?
As mentioned by me earlier, the consumers are spending only on the necessities, essentials, daily necessities, daily toiletries. They are not looking into any other electronic goods or the durable articles like refrigerator or something like that. Those things are not at all being looked into. Only they are concentrating on the food items. That department only is doing very well. Of course, as mentioned by me, the hotel industries have been affected. So, with the result, food supply or the food, requirements to the hotels are all totally stopped. And another important thing is this computer section and also the computer accessories. Because nowadays, as all of us are aware, this work from home culture or work from home is being encouraged. So everybody has to have a good system of computers and also the necessary accessories for the usage of these computers. So those aspects are being looked into, and there is a good demand for those things. That culture, the work from home culture, has really pushed this computer and also the accessories segment. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar. Mr. Krishan, am I audible to you, sir? I think Mr. Krishan's internet is very weak and he's losing connection with us every now and then. So, Mr. Manohar, I think you will be the guest with us. I think Mr. Krishan is back. Okay, Mr. Manohar, I'll continue with you till we actually. Okay. Okay, Mr. Krishan, are you there? Okay.
Yeah, I am there.
Yes, Mr. Krishan. So I was asking you this question that, people still being so reluctant of still going out, although you said the businesses have opened, the malls and the pharmacies and the supermarkets have opened, people are still reluctant to go out because of the fear of getting infected. So I wanted to ask you, sir, that with that fear, do you think there is going to be an impact of the consumer purchasing power in consumer goods?
There is a huge impact on the consumer purchasing power.
Mr. Krishan, you're not very audible to us, sir. If you could just check with your internet connection, please. Okay, Mr. Manohar, my question is for you, sir. You are the expert in this field and you have been in this field for a very long time. What needs to be done to restore people's confidence, spending confidence, to be honest? Like, how do you gain their trust or the confidence back, especially during the time of COVID-19 pandemic?
Actually, the consumers are willing to spend, but because of the fear, they are unable to spend. That is number one. But here, what we can do is how we can establish good connectivity with the customers. That is what everybody has to focus upon. That only will increase the confidence of the consumers. That means you have to go very close to the customers find out their needs and how you can solve the problems at their house itself. Am I clear to you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're perfectly audible to me.
Yeah. So first we have to go very near to the customers and satisfy their needs. That is very, very important. That means we have to do some extra steps like home deliveries, how we can effectively, safely deliver the products required by them at their doorsteps. That is very, very important. In order to do that, we have to have this digital marketing and other necessary apps in full swing. That means new apps we may have to develop. Okay, some video apps we may have to develop so that any customer can access this app from any part of the country and they can make a purchase order. And based on which the companies or the establishments can deliver their products at the homes. So this will boost their confidence. That is very, very important because they are safely in the house and they are getting all the materials as per their requirements. That means there is a very, very happy feeling. That means the connectivity with the customers is very, very important. That is continuance and assurance of the supply is playing a major role. That is what it is. And then mainly all the focus should be on daily necessities. The consumer is interested in getting his daily bread out of the daily necessities. For that, if he gets everything at his home, he is very happy. He is unable to move out of this COVID-19 embargo at this situation. Yes.
Mr. Manohar, you just mentioned that, okay, I think we have Mr. Krishan back with us. Sir, am I audible to you now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry for this glitch. Yeah.
It's okay, sir. I'll just repeat the questions for you. My first question that you missed was actually the impact of consumer purchasing power, because I mentioned that, you already said that the economic activities has resumed in UAE and the pharmacies, supermarkets, malls have started their operation once again, but people are still reluctant to go out because of the fear of getting infected. So having that fear in them, do you think it's going to affect their purchasing power and consumer goods as well?
Yes, it is going to affect. Consumers are going to focus only on the essentials, and that too, if they can order online, that will be better for them. So they will try and avoid all the luxuries as long as possible. This is not just on account of getting infected, but also because they are fearful of their future incomes, and therefore consumers are preserving cash, and they don't want to waste that money. They don't know whether their jobs will last forever or no, or whether or how it will pan out in the future. They also want to save for the rainy day. And when the purchasing power, both the consumer confidence and the purchasing power come down, so consumers' habits and practices will change. They will switch to essentials, they will switch to categories which are primarily here and now, which can offer them health, hygiene, and food. So that is the behavior which is going to change.
Right, sir. My second question was what do you think are the items on which people likely to continue to spend money on, and why have they chosen certain services and products to spend money?
As I clearly said in my previous answer, health, hygiene, and home will be the topmost priority for the consumers. For rest of the products, they will try and preserve cash. They will not splurge. They might spend a little bit on the small luxuries in consumer products, but the luxuries which they used to enjoy earlier, like clothing, like going out, like eating out, like going to the movies or vacations, that is going to take a break for some time.
Right, Mr. Krishan. And the last question that you missed with us was, what needs to be done to restore people's confidence in spending?
That's a very interesting question. I think few things which I would want to say as a pretext to this answer is that human species adapt species, and we as a human beings are very resilient, and we have seen the worst times earlier as well, and we have come back. So it is a matter of time that the consumers will come out of consumers and people. When I say consumers, I mean people, and when I say people, I mean consumers. Both are interchangeable in this context. So I think people will come out of this crisis also. It is a matter of time, but it will take a lot of effort from all stakeholders, from the governments, from the industry, from the consumers themselves or people themselves, and all other stakeholders like medical fraternity and everybody. Till the time a vaccine comes out, people will have to uh, abide by the safety regulations which the governments have been propagating. They need to keep safe. They need to keep as they need to first of all they need to keep safe for them to continue in future. Second, if they are safe, many of their concerns of current realities and of their families get assuaged. Then comes the fear of future and fear of incomes. There, both the governments and the industry will have to play a role. Government by creating more and more opportunities for giving more disposable income to the consumers and giving them confidence that things are coming back. Industry, again, in generating more jobs, but at least ensuring that people don't lose their jobs. It may not be so true for many industries which have actually gone really below the radar during these times. But for industries like us, like consumer products, where we have made sure that we don't, we come out of this crisis together as a team, and nobody is asked to leave in our company.
Thank you so much, Mr. Krishan. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we are still in conversation with our esteemed guests. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Outline with us. Before going on a break, we were actually having this conversation with Mr. Manohar and Mr. Krishan, who has joined us from UAE, and we were talking about how to restore confidence of consumers in terms of spending and how they have seen the market being affected during the COVID-19 pandemic. My question to you, Mr. Manohar, is that how long do you expect this restoration to take? Is there anything that we can do or people can do to speed up the process to actually help consumers to spend and buy more goods?
Really, it is anybody's guess at this time. We cannot have a precise timetable for this. Having said this, I would like to mention that we have to have a different type of situation, and then our strategy also has to be changed. That means a new marketing revolution or renaissance has to take place, or it is already taking place in many parts of the world. So that means we have to go against the wind or against the stream at this point of time. Whether there is COVID-19 or not, that doesn't matter. That will become a part of our lives, or if not COVID-19, or some other thing also may become part of the life. But how we have to reorient our daily life or reorient our strategies is very, very important. I believe that the old ways of shopping may not come immediately. It may take some time. That's what I would like to mention at this point of time. Thank you.
Mr. Krishan, would you like to add to this question, please?
I think I agree with Mr. Manohar on there has to be a renaissance, there has to be a new way of doing things. I can speak on behalf of the corporates, or one of the voices of corporates, is consumers right now are fearful of the future, fearful of their incomes, and fearful of, there's a lot of uncertainty. So good brands, big brands need to bring in that trust back to the consumers that what they are offering is absolutely healthy, hygienic, and value for money. Right now, consumers need that kind of assurance from the industry. So if we are able to rework our cost structures, bring the frills out, and give the bare essentials to the consumers at very reasonable prices, they are going to love you as a company, as a brand.
Right, you both are mentioning about the renaissance and the revolution in the market. And Mr. Manohar earlier mentioned, when Mr. Krishan, you weren't here, that online marketing has been doing really well. So, in your both expert opinions, do you think that e-commerce and telemarketing actually has seen a boom due to COVID-19? Mr. Manohar, would you like to talk about it first, please?
Yes, as mentioned by me earlier, yes, this is going to be the future marketing strategy. Of course, this strategy has been working very well in different parts of the world. This is going to take a deep root in this country also at this time. Mr. Krishan has already mentioned about the difficulties being faced by the customers. And here, I just would like to mention that we have to take a lot of steps in this direction. The digital marketing, of course, we have to spend a lot of amount, and necessary apps have to be created, and necessary infrastructure has to be built, and awareness has to be done, and the entire system has to be revamped towards making this digital marketing happening in every part of the world. So we have to do a lot of efforts in this direction. Of course, many people have done it. We can still do it also.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Manohar. Mr. Krishan, would you like to add something to that, please?
Yes, e-commerce and telemarketing have seen a huge impetus because of COVID, though that field was anyway increasing at a good speed, but suddenly they have been growing at a rocket speed all across the globe. In fact, we have also seen that in our business, the e-commerce business growing more than 10 times or 20 times across countries where we operate in. And if consumers are going to shop online, then the marketers are going to advertise online more and more. And so therefore, there will be a lot of change happening in that direction.
So, sir, from a consumer's point of view, do you think that online marketing is actually a hurdle, or is it blessing in disguise right now? Because with online or telemarketing, it takes few days, if I'm not wrong, to actually get delivery of certain products or certain goods that they require. Do you think that could actually affect, once the COVID pandemic situation is over, then this would actually bring people going again and purchasing directly rather than depending on e-commerce or telemarketing? Mr. Manohar?
It's a good question. Yes, but now during this COVID time, all the consumers are used to this type of system, that is delivery at home and telemarketing and ordering online. Once the system has come into our daily life, then this is going to take over the entire thing. We may not feel happy in again going to various malls and buy the items. So this will become part of our life. But here, as I mentioned to you, that all the establishments have to improve their supply criteria, that is infrastructure, supply immediately, taking the orders immediately and executing the orders immediately, and ensuring the safety and protocols at all levels. So this is, the connectivity with the customers is going to improve because of these situations. Once this connectivity is improved, customers are confident and they will pursue this sort of facility, online facility going forward. It is a blessing in disguise, in my view. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar. Mr. Krishan, what would you like to say to this?
I think the entire way of marketing to consumers and consumers buying is undergoing a change. In the days, or not just in recent past, consumers used to watch an ad on the television, and then word to, as marketers would have thought, or as business people would have thought, for them to remember your brand 7 days later, and then go and shop in the mall on a weekend, or maybe even later. So there used to be a gap between when a consumer got information on a brand and then an actual purchase. Today that has actually changed. Today the consumer, the moment they get an interest or they become aware of a particular brand, they immediately click on their mobiles and order. and the more and more efficient supply chains become, the reach of e-commerce, online telemarketing, and many other shapes which it will take in future is going to increase by leaps and bounds. So if today the goods are reaching the consumer the next day, and there are certain other e-commerce platform players who are promising delivery in 2 hours, so consumers are, that journey from awareness to purchase is going to shrink, and therefore it is going to create a huge impetus on e-commerce growth.
Mr. Krishan, what advice do you have for shopkeeper and vendors at a time like this, specifically, considering COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing?
Shopkeepers, like offline shopkeepers like Carrefours and Lulus?
Both,
Or,
sir. Online and offline, both.
I think they need to think customer first, because customer is always the king or the queen, and what consumers want at this time, at the kind of price they want, if they are able to satisfy their needs well, then they are the winner retailers and winner shopkeepers. So customer, they need to think customer first, their needs. They need to earn their trust.
Thank you, Mr. Krishan. Mr. Manohar, what advice do you have for the shopkeepers and vendors?
Vendors have to have a different plan whereby they can reach their customers very fast and efficiently. In fact, as mentioned earlier, they have to reformat their marketing strategy and logistics strategy. Here, they can employ different methods, but here I just would like to mention this is a combination or integration of all activities, marketing, finance, and logistics, and also the procurement function. All should be working together in close harmony with each other. The procurer should buy the products at the best of the price, at the best of the discounts. And also, he has to identify alternative suppliers so that the supply line is maintained. That is number one. Because in this part of the world, everything is being imported. So the maintenance of supply line is very important. And the finance function, they have to work out the costings very well, and they have to find out the ways and means of saving the cost or effectively or optimizing the cost. So what is the ultimate objective is to reach the customer very fast. In fact, some of the activities of people have to be reshuffled to the new marketing needs. And third thing is the marketing department, as already mentioned, they have to refinance or reformat that strategy. That is the digital marketing and also how to reach the customers. All these things have to be done together. And last but not the least is the logistics department. Now we are thinking of this online marketing. And as mentioned by Mr. Krishan, that we have to reach fast the goods. So the logistics department also have to work together. In this way, we can really play well and then overcome this difficult situation. Here, one more advice I would like to mention here is the getting purchase order through online. And in this case, you can employ, or the establishments can employ the unemployed graduates. See, what happens here in this part of the world, we do not have the customer statistics. Okay. For example, many customers are going to a supermarket or hypermarket. They do not have the email ID or the mobile numbers and other things. So what they can do is they can promote a new business or new type of activity wherein they can enroll unemployed graduates for as a marketing agents. These marketing agents, the youngsters, through their connections in their own territory, they will identify the families and they will get the purchase order for that month. What are the requirements for that family during this month? See, for that, this online system of brochures and other things will be very helpful. So in this way, they will procure the orders and the main establishment will execute the orders. In this way also, we can do that. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manohar. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we'll be asking the two experts for advice they have to give out to the consumer. So stay tuned. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Outline. Before going on a commercial break, I said that I'm going to be asking our esteemed guests for advice they have to give out to the consumers. Mr. Krishan, what advice do you have for the consumers at this point of time?
Few pieces of advice, though I'm not as old to give advice to lots of people. But one that please look at companies which have established trust over a period of time, rather than buying something cheap, which will not actually be um, health needs. So trust is more important than just buying cheap. That as a consumer, I would want you guys to look at. Second is take care of your health. That's the most important thing. Take care of your family. This too shall pass. As human species, I have told you, we have seen many crises before we have come out of all of it. And last is that yes, definitely we shall overcome together.
Definitely, Mr. Krishan. Mr. Manohar, what piece of advice do you have for the consumers out there?
Yeah, my piece of advice is think before you buy. As already mentioned, whether the item which you have in mind is very, very important for you to buy at this point of time or not. So that question you have to get an yes answer. Then only you should proceed to buy. And of course, safety, your health, everything is very, very important. So that's why you also have to encourage this online shopping. That will be helpful to you for your safety. A third piece of advice is that this is a very difficult time wherein the cash flow is restricted, and we have to ensure that we have savings while earning the income. That is very, very important. And last but not the least is let us not waste anything. That is very, very important. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar. I really like that both of you have pointed out that consumers need to be careful. They need to think before buying. Have you seen any connection of boredom or this frustration that is caused by the pandemic, that people tend to buy unnecessary items? They tend to shop more because there is nothing to go outside, and there is nothing to actually entertain themselves. Because I don't know if this is something normal, but it usually happens with me. I go to a grocery store, and because of the boredom and there's no activity to do, I tend to buy so many things that I don't even touch or look in the cabinet later on. Do you have seen those kind of patterns, Mr. Krishan?
Yes, as I had mentioned earlier, consumers tend to indulge in some small luxuries, and I think it's okay. It's okay. There's too much of stress going around, and if they get comfort with buying chocolate cakes or buying a very esoteric shampoo, I think we should grant that to the consumers. They are saving money. They're saving money. They're not going to the mall, their vacations. So these bit of little luxuries, I'm pretty okay with that. It's good. It gives them comfort.
Thank you, Mr. Krishan, for making me feel better of myself, because I thought I was completely going crazy in this pandemic, that I'm buying stuff and I'm buying more bakery items, trying to bake more at home. Mr. Manohar, have you witnessed the same pattern, sir?
Actually, two matters we should bear in mind. One is, yes, things are coming very easily at my home. So I can buy anything, whatever I want. So that luxury is there, that comfort is there. Yes, if you apply this concept, yes, we may be buying unnecessary items and store it in our house, which we may not look into. But at the same time, now due to the cash flow situation, and there is a lot of stress in the minds of the people, so what they will do, they will be prudent enough to order only the essential, absolute requirements for their daily needs. There is going to be a rational purchase decision, and it is not going to be based on some whims and fancies. That is going to be there from now on. That's what I feel.
Thank you once again, Mr. Manohar and Krishan, for joining us in today's session. It was very interesting talking to both of you and getting inside the head of the consumer goods and consumer spending both at the same time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity for us to be here and to share our thoughts. Thanks to Times of Oman for this opportunity. All the best.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for your valuable guidance and advice. Very, very Nice indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar. Thank you, Madhya.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar. Thank you, Mr. Krishan, once again. Thanks to all the viewers and listeners out there for tuning in today's episode. We'll be back again tomorrow with more news stories your way. So stay tuned and keep watching TTV.